Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
Welcome to the Fell Hole to Foul Pole podcast, brought to you by Black Diamond Softball and Fitness, presented by the Till Valhalla Project, where heroes live forever.
All right, let's get this one going today. My guest is none other than accomplished author, mental toughness coach, great all-around person, Miss Valerie Alston. Valerie, thank you again for joining me. It's an honor to sit down and talk with you again. Coming off the success of Confident, Calm, and Clutch, you have put out it's like a manual for coaches that kind of teach. It's the coaching companion.
Yeah.
So, can you kind of take me through sort of the feedback that you've gotten from the book, Confident, Calm, and Clutch, and let me know what led you into writing the coaching companion?
Yeah. So thankfully the first book is doing well. Many people have reached back, parents, coaches, et cetera, said, hey, this is great. It's really helping my kid. It's really helping me be more effective as a parent or a coach. But I was getting a couple of requests for folks of like, hey, I'd like to use this book with my team. Mm-hmm. How do I do that? And I had probably within 4 months of the first book, Confident, Calm, and Clutch, being released, I had, 3 to 4 coaches reach out to me specifically about that. And so I was like, all right, well, if that's what coaches need, I'm going to write it. So I created the Coach's Companion, which is, it's chock full of many things. One, just a basic approach for most coaches are obviously not experts in mental skills training. So they haven't, got years and years of training. So it's really tailored for somebody who they understand the value of mental toughness. They understand the importance of building confident, calm, and clutch players, but they don't know how to go about it because it's not their area of expertise. And so there's the first probably 4 chapters are really focused on how, as a coach, how do you just invite conversation? How do you bring it into the dialogue? Even if you're not an expert, how can you still help them build tools and skills through dialogue? And so that's the first section. And then the next section is a literal book study, a guided book for Confident, Calm, and Clutch. As a coach, you've bought this book for your team. You want everybody to read it. And like, here's a chapter section to read as a group. And then here's the discussion points we want you to have. So it's very structured of here's the conversations you can have after getting your team to read this. And then there's some additional coaching tidbits in there on how to build effective culture, because mental toughness doesn't operate in a vacuum.
Right.
The team and the coach play a big role in the mental toughness of the athletes. And if they are creating an effective culture that enables and promotes mental toughness, you're going to see more mental toughness. Whereas if you're a toxic coach, if you're demeaning, if you're results oriented and don't care about the kids and everything's all about winning, right? There's tends to be some behaviors there as a coach that prevent mental toughness, or you're forcing it because you're so toxic they have to create it to survive. Not an effective way to coach or for the development of young people. So there's some additional tidbits in there, but yeah, it's essentially how it created is coaches were reaching out saying, how do I use your book with my team? So, let me tell you.
That leads me, actually, you said it a couple of times, was the word culture. We've, I know the circles that I'm in, we talk a lot about culture here with the Firecrackers, who I coach in that organization, we talk about a culture, and we talk about the mental side of creating a good culture. And what does that mean? Because you look at it on the outside, it's like they must have a good culture because they're winning or this or that. But that culture starts from within, and those coaches now have sort of a roadmap that could lead into having a good culture for those families to be a part of, because essentially that's what it is. It's the families that have to buy into the team or buy into the organization to be there. And you can't be an outlier and have some toxic culture in a group or an organization that's known for having a good culture.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to survive a season that way, but it's not sustained growth, and your kids and families aren't going to stay in your organization if they had a miserable time. It's like, why would I stay here? This was not a pleasant experience. I can go give my money to somebody else, right, and have a better experience. So yeah, culture matters. And yes, winning helps culture, but it tends to start. You're not going to win without a healthy culture. Long term, you might be able to get away with a season, but it's not going to sustain over time. Because people don't want to be around it.
If a coach is, serious about wanting to help young athletes and teach young athletes, what's the first thing you say to them as far as trying to get to a communication level where you can actually communicate with that young athlete? I mean, I'm talking 10, 12, 13, 14 years old, someone that's young, so we can at least break down some of those barriers.
Yeah, I would say the first thing starts with, believe it or not, ask questions, right? Asking them, what do you want out of your sport experience? Like, why did you come to this team? What did you, why are you playing the sport? What's important to you about this? Because depending on what level people are coaching at. Now, as an organization like Firecrackers, it's travel ball. So those kids are generally speaking wanting to pursue, something beyond. Typically, they're trying to pursue scholarships, that type of thing. But they're motivated to get better and improve and be there to win. Right. But maybe at rec levels or high school levels and different, orientations, it's really getting the athletes. What are they wanting out of this experience? Is it just to be here with their friends and have some fun away from school? Is it they love the sport? They're not particularly motivated by winning. They just want to play. And if as a coach, you can understand their motivations, then you can better align your coaching to match what they actually want and need. Now, of course, there's a developmental thing that if you're working with really young kids, they don't know what they want. Right. Mostly under 12, the research says they just want to have a good time. They want to have some fun. Once you start hitting that 12 years and higher, they start to reorient towards different goals and having different needs and things like that. So, if you're coaching 12 and under 10s, 9s, 8s, whatever, and you're not focused on having at least some fun every practice, you can't treat them like adults that are there to get better, like every moment of every day. They're developmentally not orientated to that.
Right.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
That makes a lot of sense. I work with a lot of different girls in different age groups and skill levels. And, for the first couple of times, you have to sit back and just read them. You got to figure out what's the best way to communicate with them. And with coaches, we try to teach confidence. And I don't know if you can teach confidence. I think you can teach some tools that can help with confidence. But what's your opinion on trying to give that kid some confidence and where we can sort of lead them to where they can pull their own confidence?
Yeah. So the research is pretty interesting because there's sources that people base their confidence on. And as a coach, if you can understand what those sources are, you could help develop them. So the first one is personal experience, like having done the thing before. And really, as a coach, that's what you're trying to develop at practice, right? You're developing their skill set, you're developing their competence, you're putting them in game-like situations so that when they get in a real game, oh, this is like that time in practice. Okay, I can trust in my skill set because I was able to be successful, right. Or I failed a bunch of times, but now I know what to do more effectively. So that personal experience, prior experience, is one of the largest sources that develop confidence. Mm-hmm. And so as a coach, thinking about that is you can't expect an athlete to be confident in something they've never done. And so thinking about how you structure your practices, how can I get them as many experiences of game-like context, and developmentally appropriate.
Exactly.
What are the games, what's actually required of them at a game level at that age? But so prior experience is the big one. The next one is vicarious experience. So seeing somebody else do it. Mm-hmm. So just because somebody has not had an individual experience doing it, if they can watch videos of somebody do it, YouTube videos, drills, if they can watch a teammate be successful doing a thing, often that helps them build confidence because it's like, oh, well, if Susie just did that, then I can do that. And so, and you'll see that for a lot of times when you're running new drills. Mm-hmm. There's some kids that are inherently just have a little bit more confidence. They're like, yeah, I'll try it. I'll be the first one to do it. But then you've got those kids who are like, nah, I'm going to need to watch somebody do this.
Exactly.
I'm not going to be the first person. I mean, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But so that vicarious experience, helping them learn from each other. So even if an individual athlete, I know this happens, kiddos, maybe they normally play a certain position, but maybe there's been an injury or there's traffic and this kid hasn't shown up yet. And hey, I need you to go play this position. I've never played there before. It's like, it's okay. Do you remember watching so-and-so at practice? Right. You can.
Exactly.
So it's not a perfect source, but it is really helpful, especially for the types of contexts where you can't necessarily recreate everything that's going to happen in a game at practice. You can do your best, but the fourth source is physical state. So understanding that your physicality and your physical state plays a role in your confidence. So if you wake up and you're feeling great, your body's feeling good, you're feeling and you're able to control your fight or flight response, your nerves, that instills confidence because you're like, okay, I'm in control of things.
Right.
But sometimes our physical state isn't great. Maybe you've got a rolled ankle, or you're sore from a tough workout, or you just didn't get any sleep the night before because you're in a hotel, a weird hotel in a new city when you're out at some travel tournament.
Happens.
And you got no sleep, and they're like, you wake up and you're like, well, I'm not 100%. So it's understanding how you train them and teach them to think about that is it's okay. Get 100% of what you have today. If you've only got 80% capacity, maximize that 80%. And teaching them not only how to interpret their physical state, but also to manage their physical state from a nerves perspective. So teaching, some breathing techniques and things like that. Because if they feel like they can control their body, they feel more in control, which leads to confidence.
Yep.
And the final one, which is really important for coaches as well, is this idea of persuasion. So some of it's internal. So as an athlete, what is their self-talk? Right? What is the dialogue in their head? Are they saying things like, I can, I got this, or are they saying, I can't do this? What's the talk in their head is going to dictate confidence, right? So if you can remind them to have effective thinking, but persuasion also can come from external sources. So coach, parents, like you telling them, you got this. I saw you do this at practice. I did it. You can do this, right? Go do it. Take a deep breath. Go, insert whatever action they're getting ready to go pitch the pitch, go hit the hit. But so if you can think about those four sources as a coach, the personal experience, vicarious experience, physical state, and persuasion, the way you talk to your kids, that gives you avenues to basically help them build their bank of evidence that says, I have reasons to be confident. And if I've got enough of that, I can, I can be confident because I've got all this evidence and data that tells me I'm good to go.
Yeah. And I'm glad you broke it down like that into the four different ways where confidence can kind of come from, because it's like learning, whether you're a visual learner or you're a learner by doing, there's different ways that you can go about it. And as coaches, we kind of got to have a way, especially with a team, to be able to pivot and go to this next player and go, okay, well, she gets it from this way, or her confidence comes from this way. And I always talk about preparation with that. So we try to get for me personally, I try to get the girls to go back to, you've put the work in. Let's rely on that. I know it's a big moment, it's a big game, it's a big situation, but you've been doing the preparation right here. Yeah. So just kind of trust that. Is it hard to get young athletes to buy into themselves and get them to gain or to build that trust in themselves that they actually can do it? And is that something that's taught, or can we help our athletes sort of learn that over time?
Yeah, I think some of it, especially for our young athletes, they haven't developed that ability yet. And so as the adults around them, modeling that, teaching that, enforcing that with your own language, is, hey, you're ready. You put this many reps in practice. I've seen you do it this many times. You're good. Just trust it. Go play. And I think some of it comes back to also what happens after the play is how do you treat that as a coach? Because if you get punitive in the sense of punishment, like, oh, you messed up, go run, like they're going to be so afraid of trying and putting themselves out there that they're less likely to be confident, because now they're also not just scared of the moment, they're scared of the after effect. Right. And so really, really thinking about that as a coach is, how do I treat them after they've tried? And of course, in softball, baseball, there's going to be a lot of failure. It's inherent in the game, right? Yeah. So shoot, you get four hits out of 10 and you're an amazing hitter. You're still going to fail 6 to 7 times. So really thinking about, again, coming back to culture, what is the effect that you're creating when people try and fail? And are you reinforcing this? A great job trying. That was great effort. We got to tweak 1 or 2 things, but that's great. Like I loved your focus in this moment. I loved how you got after it. You didn't give up when you got 2 strikes, or hey, pitcher, you battled. They felled off a ton of pitches and you had to keep throwing. Right?
There's confidence in that, just how we talk. I mean, you can't expect an athlete to ever experience confidence if they don't succeed or get that exactly right. There's something punitive that goes with it. I mean, you got to get a kid to first buy into, they trust you as a coach. They have to trust you on some level. They have to trust you, and then they start breaking down those walls and those fences just a little bit, and then they can start to build that confidence. But you can't expect a player just to come in and do that job, and then when they don't, you beat them up about it, and that's just going to kill them over time.
Yeah. And it's really thinking about there's no reason to beat anybody up. I mean, there's natural consequences to the failure moment, right? They didn't get the hit, therefore they lost the game. The run didn't score, whatever. Right? I promise you, those natural consequences are enough. Right? They don't. Nobody likes losing, right? Or enjoys that experience of feeling disappointed or sad or frustrated because they didn't meet the moment. Like, trust me, there's enough natural consequences existing within the game. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to create more. Now, there's a difference between consequences. Let's say they engaged in some behavior. Let's say they got to the dugout and they slammed their helmet and they screamed at somebody. Like, okay, that's a different animal because that's a behavior unrelated to the game. You, as a coach, you can say, no. Like, hey, not acceptable behavior. Go run a lap, right? That's different because it wasn't a performance moment, right?
Exactly.
So thinking about that as a coach, like, what are the performance moments that there's no reason to be punitive in any kind of game practice scenario in the sense that they are trying something and not being successful. That there's no reason to add to that. Now, if there's ineffective behaviors, they're being rude to teammates, they're sniping at umpires, they're being disrespectful to you as a coach. Like, okay, those are different types of behaviors that might require a little bit of punitive, like go run, go lunges to the wall, go like whatever.
Exactly. And I think at the younger ages, you see more of that performance based punishment. If you let this ball between your legs again, you're running a lap. Well, it's not like the kid wants the ball to go between their legs. So now you've put them even on a bigger spotlight. You put them on a bigger stage. And that's one thing I was going to ask you is, these athletes, they are in the circle pitching or they're up to bat, and you got the crowd telling them what to do. You've got coaches that are coaching them, telling them what to do. You got parents that are telling them what to do. Those kids are battling through that. And there's a lot of stage fright that goes in. I mean, they could be professional athletes and there's still some stage fright. So, I mean, they got to pull it from somewhere, shake the nerves off and have some confidence in that at bat. Can you talk a little bit about all those emotions that are going through those athletes when it's, they're up to on stage and the defense is staring at them, the opposing team's dugout is staring at them. They're in there. And can you talk a little bit about that? And so we as coaches can kind of give them a little bit to kind of block all that out and, hey, go do your job.
Yeah. I think there's kind of two approaches to this. One is, again, if they've never experienced that until they get into a game, it's going to be much harder to manage. So thinking about at some point in your practices, recreating that environment as much as you can to give them reps at doing it in a safe place at practice where there's no real game at stake.
That prior experience confidence that
Yeah. And so they need to have practiced pressure situations at practice. And you can do that a lot of different ways, whether you create games, scrimmaging at practice, but like upping the stakes, like there's always runners on, it's practice. You can put runners wherever you want them. You can look at, right. It's always runners on second and third with a 2-2 count, right. Or whatever, or 1-1 count. I don't know whatever you want to do. And then maybe piping in some music or loud noises, or, everyone's got speakers this day and age, get some crowd noise. If you want the parents to help, you have to make sure you're giving them left and right limits, making sure that stay within certain bounds. But parents, here's what we'd like you to do. Chatter, right? Just talk, act like you're at a game. And I want them to, as the parents, if they're already sitting there at practice, maybe give them something to do. Yeah. So there's opportunities there. The more you can recreate that game pressure at practice and give them experience handling it and dealing with it. And then processing it afterwards at the practice is like, okay, what worked? What didn't? Where did you notice your thoughts were going? What kind of stuff was going on in your body? Okay, well, here's a tool, right? You can borrow, the Get Curious drill, or you can borrow a breathing drill from the book, right? Say, okay, let's practice this. And now let's go out. We're going to do it again. All right, let's try it. See how it goes. So you can, the good thing about practice is you can start and stop as many and as much and as often as you want. And so doing it at practice is very helpful. And then at a game now as a coach, when all that's going on, is assuming you've done that, you just remind them of, hey, remember, we did this at practice 2 weeks ago or last week or whatever. Take that breath. Remember what worked for you. So just reorienting them to things that they've done that worked for them. But also just reminding them of like, hey, right here, right now, the only thing I want you to focus on is, it's a pitcher. Put the ball in the glove, right? Hit your spot. That's nothing else matters. So sometimes you do have to help them remember what they have control over and the things that they should be focusing on, especially developmentally, depending on how old your kids are. Right. That's normal. That's your role as a coach, to reorient them to what they should be focusing on. Right. They're kids. I don't know if y'all know this, but your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, doesn't fully develop until about 18 to 22. And so like executive functioning, the ability to control where your thoughts go and all that, isn't fully developed in anybody in youth sport. So they might need some help in reorienting and reminding them that, hey, I can see that your thoughts are over here because it's showing up on your face. You look terrified. Take a breath. This is what I want you to focus on. Put your attention here, right?
I think that's, you hit the nail on the head right there. We are putting adult expectations on 13-year-olds.
Yeah. And as much as we want them, to be adult. Like, they're not. They're still kids. I mean, and so some of that too is as the adults in the environment is just remembering they're gonna mess up. They're gonna do stupid things. They're gonna they're kids. That's okay. Give them a hug. Remind them, well, that was stupid. They're like, yeah, I don't want to do it. Look, okay. The next time, grace. Give them grace. They're learning. They're developing. Shoot. And then when you get in the teen years, you just throw in a whole mix of hormones that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And they legitimately can't control their emotions sometimes. It's not them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a hormone.
I try to help as much as I can with these young athletes and try to let them know their value and let them know their worth and constantly, because they will beat themselves up. I'm just going to quit. I suck. I'm too bad. I don't want to play and this and that. And it's just like, it hurts you as a coach to hear that. And it's, I try to think of ways to kind of spin that, but I also don't want to beat a dead horse, because we all say the same thing. And it's like, yeah, you're good. Just keep working through it, keep pushing through it and stuff like that. As coaches, how can we get them out of that negative self-talk and get them into that self-value promotion, if you will?
Yeah, there's one that's very hard to do. So please understand that that's a process. It doesn't change overnight, because they didn't start thinking that way overnight, right? That they've built that pattern. So it's not going to change overnight, but the more you can just reinforce, again, the evidence, a lot of, especially kids, I mean, this is part of behavioral health type stuff, but if you start to build patterns of thinking about interpreting the world in a certain way that is ineffective. So for instance, it's all my fault. I lost the game for us.
Yeah.
So you were out there the whole time all by yourself? There weren't 8 other players out there with you? Right.
Right.
No, you didn't lose this game. Now, were you pivotal in a moment where it affected the game? Of course. But there were 7 other innings. There were 5 other, I don't know, however long you played the game, right? So the more that you can, as a coach, reinforce the evidence, because typically the flawed thinking comes from opinions and impressions and emotions, and it's not fact-based.
That's such a good point.
Yeah. And again, we all think that way, and we're not exempt from this as the adults either. We do this too. We make opinions based on how I'm feeling versus what's real and what's true. And so an athlete who's coming to you, I'm worthless. I'm never going to be a good teammate. You're like, okay, well, 3 times this weekend already, you've been pivotal in us winning a game. And here's how. Yeah. You stole that base. You got to this, you did this thing. We wouldn't have won that game if you weren't there. Right. So, unfortunately, they have short-term memory loss for success, and long-term memory for the
bad
failure
stuff.
moments. Yeah, and it's hardwired. That's actually we all have it. It's called the negativity bias, right? So it exists, and so as a coach, as much as you can counteract that negativity bias by forcing the memories of the good, right? Hey, remember last week when you did this? Remember 2 days ago when you did this? Remember, whatever's relevant to the doubts and fears that they're having. But you can even make it a rule on your team. You're not allowed to verbalize any thoughts that say I can't, or I suck, or I'm not able. It's not allowed on our team. If you do say it, you have to add the word yet at the end. I can't do this yet. All right, well, let's fix it. How do we get there? Because I mean, unfortunately, it's a pattern like anything else. It's a habit like anything else. Thinking becomes a habit. And if you can break the habit soon, early, quickly, to teach them how to think more effectively about their experiences, about their successes, their failures, hopefully we're building effective habits so that when they get to, 18 to 22 and they're in college, they've got that, okay, this is temporary. Yeah, I failed. I messed up, but right. I'll get back on the horse. It's only one moment in time. It's not me as a person. I'm not a failure. I had a failure moment. All right.
Right. Yeah. I took a lot out of Confident, Calm, and Clutch, and I am looking. I haven't gotten a chance to get the Coach's Companion yet. I'm looking forward to it. There's so many different ways to look at trying to help kids and trying to help build confidence and help them in those clutch moments.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Did you expect to get such a good reaction or good feedback from the book as far as so many people wanted to learn and they wanted to help out, and they were almost waiting for something like this to come to them so they could, help as much as they could?
It was certainly the hope. I don't know that you can ever expect anything like that as a, content creator. You don't always know what's going to catch on or what's
right. Oh, I know it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can't say I expected it. Did I hope for? Yes.
Right.
And so I think what's been really rewarding is, I started by trying to coach and work with individual athletes. And it's rewarding. I still do that, but it's tough to reach the amount of people that I'm passionate about reaching. And so the book was a good way to do that. So hopefully, if you liked what you heard in the book, there's more, right? That's kind of the intro level of tools and skills that people need to be successful and build that mental toughness, but there's more. And so, reach back to me, reach out is like, hey, this was great, but I need another thing. Like, great. Let me know what that is so I can generate the content that you all need and are looking for. I'm not a kid playing anymore. I have my experiences from playing, but shoot, I'm 40 years old in a month. Like, I don't understand what it's like to be a kid anymore. And it's a whole unique environment that I didn't have social media and cell phones and any of that stuff to deal with. That's a whole new challenge, right? And it's part of the reality. So we got to help kids deal with it. But
what do you expect if you were to grab the coach's companion? What would you go into looking for? If knowing you have this book out there, Confident, Calm, and Clutch, and then there's a coach's companion that's coming with it. Mm-hmm. What are you looking for? If you're not the author, but you are a reader.
I think practical strategies on how to utilize the tools from the book with my team.
Right. Okay.
And I believe that I provided that. So each of the individual drills that are in Confident, Calm, and Clutch, there's a whole section in the book where here's the drill. Right. So it's a refresher of, remember, here's this drill. Mm-hmm. And then as a coach, here's a way to embed it into practice. Here's a couple ideas. And by no means is it exhaustive, right? It's not, I didn't give you 10 choices because that's overwhelming. That's too many. There's like 1 to 2 ideas for each individual drill of here's how to embed this into practice.
Right.
And I think that is what I would want to know as a novice coach, or just not necessarily a novice coach, but somebody who doesn't necessarily have expertise in mental toughness.
Right.
Maybe you've been coaching the sport for many years, but the mental side is not something that you're as familiar with. So, from
the first time we had talked, we talked a little bit about like that mental toughness. Like it can come and go depending on the scenario. I mean, different things happen. And so they have to evolve and they have to grow with it. It's like a muscle. Or it's like a craft, and it's the same thing with coaching, because like you said, there's social media now, there's a lot of different other things that go with it. So we have to continue to evolve as coaches. And the previous book, it kind of led us into like, it's not an exact science. There's not like a roadmap. There's not like, these points. Well, okay, now you've hit this, you're good now. Now you've hit this, now you're good. Talk about that just a little bit more. About like, you have to continue to evolve with it because the world changes.
Yeah. And I think an understanding too that developmentally your kids adapt and overcome and have new challenges as well. So the basics are always the same. They need to control the dialogue in their head. They need to make sure they have the ability to control their body. They need to, be able to focus on the right things at the right time. Right? That's never going to change. But the challenges around them are going to differ and change as they get older, as their body changes, as their skill set changes, as the competitive level changes. So really being able to, as a coach, help them discover and figure out, okay, this used to work for me from like 12 to 14, but now I'm finding it's not working anymore. So, okay, well, what else can we try? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And so there is quite a bit of, it's probably not fun for coaches to know or people to know, but there's a little bit of experimentation that you have to engage in as an individual and just be like, okay, the foundation of this is good, but the how I'm doing it is no longer working. So I need to tweak. How do I get my focus back where I need it to be? All right. Well, I used to, as an at-bat, I can even think about myself as an athlete. My pre-at-bat, like stepping into the box, was very different when I was 12 versus my senior year in college. I needed different things. I had different, the pressure was different. What I needed and my own knowledge of myself was very different at 22 than it was at 12, right? So it will develop and morph over time, but I think the best thing you can do as a coach is help them be curious and help them, for lack of a better term, problem solve. It's like, okay, well, that's not working. How can you tweak it? Let's do at least one thing different and see how that works. If it worked, great. Keep doing that until it stops working, and then we'll find a new thing. So again, just like working out in the gym, if you just do the same exercise all the time at the same rep, same weight, at some point, it's not going to work anymore. You're not challenging your body. You're not changing the stimulus. Right. So, okay, well, now I need to throw more weight on. Okay, great. Now, and so thinking about that as a coach, and I know you've been in the military before. I learned this from the military, this idea of crawl, walk, run, that you teach them how to crawl first. So what's the mental equivalent to crawling is, okay, can my kid pay attention to the right thing at the right time? How do I help them do that at the developmental level they're at? Right. Once they've mastered crawling, whatever that looks like, then you move them up to, okay, now I can walk. Let's add more difficulty, right? Once they've demonstrated that they can walk, then they get to run. Again, add more challenge, add more difficulty, their skill set gets more diverse. So if you can keep that mentality as a coach, that applies to their physical skills too. And then, from the mental side, okay, if I've taught them the basic way to be confident, but now the scenario around them is different. They need to learn how to walk now. What does that look like?
That's funny that you mentioned the military, because when we're talking that we got to crawl, then we have to walk, then we have to run. It's like at the beginning of a season, middle part of a season, and then by the end of the season, we should be sprinting, we should be running, we should be doing that. So as a coach, sort of trying to develop our team and build a culture, we can't have that expectation of everybody's going to be at the same place at the same time with their mental toughness. Yeah. So can you talk, bringing everybody together, trying to get everybody to crawl at the same time, get everybody to walk at the same time, get everybody to run at the same time, because you have a lot of different personalities, a lot of different backgrounds. You might have one that's, really good at it because she's just that type of person. And you got one that no matter what happens, the world is ending. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know that you'd be able to ever get a full team of people at the same stage with their mental toughness because of such unique individual differences and different starting points, et cetera. Which, similar physically as well, that you would never have a full team where everybody's got the exact same physical ability at the same time. Right. At least in youth, maybe up at like professional levels, that makes more appropriate because they've developed to a certain minimum standard to get to that point. Exactly. But I don't know that that's actually possible. But what I do think you can do is remind yourself that whatever drill, whatever practice scenario that you're doing, is, having honest and open conversation with the team. Like, all right, some of you, this is going to be very, very difficult, and that's okay. You're going to work through it. And if you see, it's being tough for you, continue to watch the people around you who are being successful, try to pick something up from them. Mm-hmm. Some of you, this will just be mildly difficult. The rest of you, some of you, this is going to be really easy for you. That's okay. Here's why we're doing it. So as much as you can, explain your logic as a coach of why you're choosing a drill, and even telling them sometimes you do a drill and it has nothing to do with the physical skill associated with the drill. Sometimes it's purposely, well, hopefully, if you're trying to build mental toughness, you are intentionally stressing them out, doing something that is beyond their capability for the purpose of seeing how they handle that stress, that like overwhelmed feeling. Because at some point in a game, they're going to feel that.
Exactly.
And so if you can be honest with, hey, yes, do the drill to the best of your ability, but the actual intent is, I want to see how you deal with frustration. I want to see how you deal with the fact that this is not going your way. The umpire keeps making bad calls, or calls that you would not consider to be balls and strikes or something like that, right? You're going to have to deal with that in real life in a game. So we're going to intentionally do this drill to just frustrate the crap out of you. And I'm telling you that up front. I want to see how you guys, and again, you can create a dialogue. How might you manage that, right? When you get frustrated, okay, take a strategy that you heard, try it, let's go. Mm-hmm. And then you come back after they've done the drill and been frustrated for a bit. Like, okay, what'd you do? What worked? What didn't? Okay, let's pull from things that worked. Everybody try a thing. We're going to do it again. So I think if the dialogue you create, instead of being prescriptive, like this is the right answer to manage this situation. There's very rare cases where that is always true for a group of people, especially from the mental side. Like what helps me focus might not be the same thing that helps you focus, but we all need something to help us focus. Mm-hmm. So developing what that thing is and allowing dialogue and collaboration, especially as a coach that you might not know. I mean, you know what works for you, and you know what maybe worked for you when you were playing, but different generation, different group, different. So I think the more you can just invite curiosity and collaborating and letting them learn from each other is invaluable.
Yeah. Using those players as examples for the other players, because you'll have some that are really good and then some that are not really great. And it's the same thing with mental toughness. It could be confidence, it could be with speed, it could be with power, it could be with anything. So you can always use some of them as an example for something, and then flip that and use the opposite as an example to kind of help out, because we're all at different points. Like you had mentioned, we're all different with our speed, with our skill set, with our development. And it's the same thing mentally as it is physically. So for coaches that are listening to this, don't worry that they're not all on the same level. Don't worry that you can't get through to one by doing it this way. You've got to change it up and try to create another dialogue, try to create something else that can help this athlete, because it's different. And you want it to be different because it's going to help them learn over time, different skill sets. You don't want it just, straight down the line. This is how it's done. This is the way it is. Because if it was like that, if they couldn't figure that out, it's going to make them feel even worse, because I don't fit into this. I'm not in this mold anymore. Can you talk a little bit about the society is trying to make people fit into a certain mold and how that's negatively affecting all of our youth, not just athletes, but students, but just anybody, how it's okay to not be in a mold?
Yeah. I wouldn't presume to be an expert on that. I can just share my own observations. Is that this idea of there's only one way to be successful is just a bold-faced lie. It's not anywhere. I mean, if you even look at, we'll say like the top 5, like richest people in the world, the Bill Gateses, the like Warren Buffett's, the Oprah's, it's, if you look at each one of their journeys, not a single one of them got to success the same way. They all had to kind of create a path that worked for them, or their circumstances were so different from the other people, they couldn't follow that same path. Right. And so I think it's really important that we broaden the scope of what it means to be successful. successful isn't just earning a college scholarship at a D1 university, right? That is not the only way to be successful as a softball player.
Right.
That's a very limited scope if that's your only way of determining success.
Not too many successful softball players in this world, is there?
Yeah, statistically, there's only, I think I forget that there's a chart out there somewhere. Roughly only 7% of high school softball players get to play at any collegiate level. So it's NC2A, Division 1, 2, 3, and NAIA. And then of those 7%, I don't know what the percentage is, but something like only, I think it's
close to
but
one
on
or
a softball
two.
team. Yeah. So on a softball team, I know this for a fact. There's only 12 scholarships, right? And if there's 22 people on that team, that's only what, I don't know, math bad, 55%.
Yeah,
I don't know the math of those athletes who are getting paid to be there, right? So it's that we shouldn't determine success based on external factors.
Yeah.
There's the external factor can be a marker of like, yeah, that's a great way to show me that I've been successful. But if you can help every individual kid define success in a way that is relevant to them.
Yeah.
So you've got a kid on your team that maybe you've got a stud that's just athletically very, very gifted. Well, okay, for success for you, sure. We've got some athletic type, certain batting averages or certain like whatever that you're trying to hit. Great. But I also need to develop you as a teammate. So your goal this year is to be the best teammate you can be. And here's how we're going to define that. You pick up your other teammates when they've messed up. You help coach and mentor. You have a good attitude at all, whatever. You define it in a way that matters. So that's your goal. So they can be successful in different ways. Like, so making sure that there's multiple measures of success. And it should be full scope. It shouldn't always focus on performance.
Yeah.
It should focus on character elements. How are they doing well in school? Because even if playing in college is your ultimate goal, I guarantee you, if you can't hack it in this classroom, there's no way you're not getting on a team. Yeah. I don't care how athletically gifted you are. Coach, you're a liability to a coach if you're never going to be eligible because your academics are so bad. So they can't ever put you on the field. So what's the point of allowing you on the team? Yep. So, or if you're just an awful teammate and nobody wants to be around you and all your teammates hate you, again, not getting recruited because they don't want you on your team.
No.
Oh, why would I want that on my team for 4 years or however, right? So, broadening the scope of what it means to be successful and defining it in a way that's relevant for that kid.
Yeah.
If there's physical skills they need to work on, great. Make those. If there's mental and emotional talents and skills that they need to develop, great. Have a marker there. Teamwork, right? Have some sort of definition there. But yeah, there's no single pathway to success.
I think
the same measure of success for everybody.
Those are my two favorite words, success and failure, because there's so many definitions to both.
Yeah.
I love the word failure, probably more than I like the word success, just because failure is such a great teaching word. I mean, because you fail your way to success. And, you talked about the monetary level of success and as defined by society. And then you have success to this personal level of success, like, hey, I accomplished this, or I'm content. Content is success to me. So there's just so much. And for coaches to hear, someone like you speak on this, teaching our athletes being confident, helping them stay calm, and in those clutch moments, being able to perform is what we as coaches want to do. So how can we find the book? Where is it at? Where can we?
Yeah. So it's on Amazon.
With you?
Woo! So that's my screen. This is so not working. There we go.
There it is.
So How to Teach Mental Skills to Athletes. It is on Amazon. You can get a Kindle version. You can get a hard copy. The paperback. I haven't uploaded the hard copy, the actual hardcover book yet.
It looks like this, but like what she's got.
Yeah. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. I gotta just put it where my face should be, and that'll help.
There you go.
And then of course you all, everyone listening to this podcast will have an opportunity to download a PDF copy, and get a free access to the as well. So that'll be, I don't know where there's gonna be a link somewhere down below here, but
Yep, we'll have it. We'll definitely all of Valerie's links, her website, her social media, Amazon, anywhere you can get the book, anywhere you can get in touch with Valerie, we'll make sure we have it for you. And once you get it, please leave a review, give her some feedback on it. Let her know you got it. Let her know you've read it. Let her know, whatever you're doing, those reviews really help out. So it's been an honor again having you on. I want to talk to you the next time you put a book out, and even before then, let's talk. I kind of want to do at some point. I want to do a town hall, maybe bring some coaches on somehow, some way, maybe just a Zoom meeting or something. I want to get more, because I don't have all the questions that everybody has, of course. So I want them to have an opportunity to, after they read the book or even before they read the book, just hear it from you, because the way the book reads and how well you're able to explain things to us, it makes us almost feel like we're experts after we listen to you. So appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate you. It's nice to have you on. It's nice to have you as a friend.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll do it again soon.
Yes, absolutely.
At Baker's, shopping with pickup and delivery is the same as shopping in-store. Same low prices, deals, and rewards on the same high-quality items. It's one small click for groceries, one big win for busy families everywhere. Start your cart today at bakersplus.com. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Save big on your favorites with the Buy 5 or More, Save $1 each sale. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
When you download the Baker's app, you have easy access to savings every day. Get the most out of weekly sales and receive personalized coupons to save on your favorite items, all while earning 1 fuel point for every $1 spent. Baker's makes it easy to save while you shop, whether it's in-store or online, so you get the most value out of every trip, every time. Download the Baker's app now to save big on your next purchase. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Must have a digital account to redeem offers. Restrictions may apply. See site for details.